All right. Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the vikingage.com. I am your host, Adam Patrick. I'm the lead writer and editor of the vikingage.com. As always, I am joined by Mr. Chris Schad, who also writes for us here at the Viking Age, as well as several other outlets. Before we get started today, make sure to subscribe to this channel on YouTube and like this video. Then, of course, follow us on Twitter at The Viking Age and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Viking Age. All right, we're just going to get right into it today, Chris. The Vikings have signed a notable big name free agent and former Packers linebacker Za'Darius Smith. They signed him to a 3-year contract worth up to $47 million. Now, he only played in 2 games last year, one in the regular season and one in the playoffs due to a back injury. But in the 2 seasons before that, he had 29 sacks and 144 pressures. Now, he's 29 and he gets to work with 2 coaches that got the most out of him in Green Bay, and Mike Pettin and Mike Smith, who are now on the Vikings coaching staff. So, Chris, just what was your reaction to this signing?
Well, I try to look at both sides of every story to see what's good, what's bad, and what not. The good is obviously there. Za'Darius Smith is an elite pass rusher. As you mentioned, he led the NFL in pressures, according to Pro Football Focus a couple years ago. Danielle Hunter was second on that list. So have those two guys in this defense, which is going to utilize probably free him up a little bit more with the 3-4 and have them attack from a standing position. That's really exciting for Vikings fans. I also know that he's had a serious back injury. And listening to Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, he said that, the injury, he explained it like each vertebrae's got a little disc in the back of their neck. And in that disc, there's like fluid. So it's like kind of like a jelly donut, according to him. When that gets ruptured, the fluid leaks and it gets all over the nerves. And that's what causes all that pain and basically has to have him shut him down. Za'Darius had a bulging disc, and yes, I say that slowly, in the back, and it knocked out his entire season. And the most concerning thing that Luke said is that it could knock him out for the entire year if he aggravates that injury, and that's a risk for anybody who has kind of Hunter's injury, because that was a similar nature, although it was up in his neck, or anybody who has like a back injury like Smith. So when you mix in the fact that he's 30 years old, yeah, he's on a 3-year contract. So I like that it's not a 1-year rental type player. I really am more 50-50 than most people on it. I like the fact that it adds another edge rusher, but they still have to have depth. Like, you have a lot of guys on this roster that are top heavy, that are elite. And then below them, you have the DJ Wanhams, the Kenny Willekes, and everything else. I think this move is a good start, but they have to make more moves. They have to add more depth. And if they go into the season with Za'Darius Smith and Danielle Hunter thinking everything's going to be okay, it's not going to work because both of them have a increased risk of injury. So I like it, but I also know that there's a lot of risk that comes with this move.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Like we talked on Monday about, the possibility of looking at Trey Waynes to come back, and I said no because I want new guys in here. We got a new regime, and I want to see new faces, and this is a new face. So this is, to me, a step in the right direction. I think it's a good signing. It might be a better signing for the Vikings than maybe say some other teams because they have Mike Pettin and Mike Smith, who have gotten the most out of Za'Darius Smith in the past. Um, Za'Darius Smith is he's a talented pass rusher, but he's also a very smart pass rusher. There's a video on YouTube of him just like breaking down a bunch of plays, and he pretty much just knows like what the center or what the guard is going to do just from like the play setup or a certain movement they make, and it's really impressive. So just it's I'm excited about Za'Darius Smith, and the potential that he has, especially teaming up with Danielle Hunter, because with those 2 on the field, it gives them, at least one of them a one-on-one opportunity, which we know is favorable for either one of those guys. But yeah, like you said, the back injury is a little worrisome. He's only 29, so he's not too old, but he's right out there on like the cusp. And I do have a little more faith maybe in this new Vikings training staff because the person they brought in was like the assistant trainer of the year or whatever. So I think if they okay this signing and think that his back is okay and it can then I'm gonna feel comfortable about it. But yeah, it's a little you can be skeptical about it for sure. I can totally understand that, but I'm excited about it. Does this signing, since it's you could say it's their maybe their first big signing of the off season, unless you want to count Kirk Cousins into that, which, you know, sure, whatever. But does this signing change your thoughts on what the Vikings have done so far this offseason?
Not really. And I think we'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's comments during his press conference yesterday.
Mhm.
But my biggest thing is like the Vikings are still doing that halfway thing. They're not really going for it, but they're not really trying to strip it down to the studs either. They're just kind of in a tie right now. So I think that the Vikings like this is a good signing. Like overall, I don't want it to make it sound like I completely hate the signing and I think it's a
Yeah.
bad idea and everything else. I mean,
You're so
we are
negative,
negative
Chris.
according to the people that log on, who we love very much. Keep
Yep.
subscribing, liking everything.
Yep.
I love the
Yep.
audience. But I also just know, hey, you're adding on to a foundation that is routinely gotten 9 wins per season. And when you do that, I mean, yeah, maybe there's another level, but all these guys are like 30 or older. Like Za'Darius Smith is going to be 30 come week 1. And like I said, he's got that increased risk for injury, and you have nothing behind him. So until the Vikings make some more big boy moves, like, I don't know, sign a center, sign a guard, go get some corners. Like Shannon Sullivan is visiting today as a slot corner. I would like that move a lot because
Yep.
he has experience in this defense.
Yep.
Go make some more moves with that money that you got from restructuring Danielle Hunter's contract and make some moves that say, hey, we want to bang with the Packers and the Bucks. But then again, those teams are so on another level. I don't know. So I mean, I'm just stuck in the middle here as to what I think about this team.
I would be so fast on the Packers. I know they still have Aaron Rodgers, and he's always going to give you an advantage, but I could see them taking a step back next season, given they lost Devontae Adams and they're losing a bunch of people because of their salary cap situation. Obviously, they're going to always be competitive because of Rodgers, but and I would be probably more worried about the Bucks than Packers at this point, but we could be proven wrong. Go ahead.
What do you think about the Rams? Like what how many teams let's ask this way.
Mm,
How many teams in the NFC do you think are legitimately better than the Vikings right now? Let's just like take a quick inventory because I would say the Packers. As long as you have Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers, like
yeah,
and that defense is pretty good even without Za'Darius. I would say the Bucks for sure.
yep,
I would put the Rams in that category
yep.
because they're reloading again. The
Cardinals,
Cardinals, okay.
yeah.
I mean,
The
the
Niners,
entire NFC South is trash. The Niners, I would put the Niners ahead. So that's 5
okay,
teams right now. Is that
yeah,
4 or 5? And
that's fine.
then
Cowboys,
okay. Yeah, the Cowboys. I
yeah,
I don't think I would put them ahead of them, but they're a team's going to come out of the
same
East.
level.
And I
Yeah,
think
same.
yeah. And I think the Vikings are better than the Eagles, but the Eagles also have a lot more cap room and they have more draft
Yeah,
capital, so they could get an impact rookie.
they're not
So
using it though, so I don't know what they're doing.
yeah. So they're a top 7 team in the NFC.
Yeah.
So they should be a playoff team as
You
nature
would think, yeah,
intended, apparently.
which
Yeah.
is it's turning out, I'm not so sure about how much ownership knew about what was gonna happen this offseason in the NFL and how everyone was gonna go to the AFC, but they might have had some inkling, which is why they're like, "No, we wanna be competitive because there's, like, 3 good teams in the NFC this year, so we might as well just give it a shot." Um, So what do you think some realistic expectations are for Za'Darius Smith uh, next season?
Double digit sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, you said realistic, but that's what the
Yeah.
Vikings are expecting.
Yeah.
That's why they signed him. If they didn't think he could be the double digit sack monster that he was the last 2 years, why would they make this move? And obviously they have a good sense of how his back is doing. So I think anything less than double digit sacks is going to be a massive disappointment. So yeah, you want this guy to be a needle mover. I think he has to get 10 or more sacks. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that should be an expectation. Um, maybe what 50 pressures around there too, give or take.
Oh, more than
Um,
that.
more, more
Yeah.
like
Well,
70,
well, what
70.
what did you say he's had that 1 year with Green Bay?
Well, the one year where he led the league, it was like 97 or 96 or something like that.
97. So I
Uh,
would say 70 to 80 pressures and double digit sacks.
oh wow,
That's
okay. You want
that's what
so
you
you want
signed up for.
yeah, so you want
So,
him right back
yeah.
at that form that he was, I guess, 2 seasons ago,
Mhm.
2019 with the Packers, which is it's doable. He's still 29. He's not
Absolutely. Yeah.
over the hill. But yeah, that back injury is concerning. It sounds like he's pretty enthusiastic and ready to get to work and go against the Packers and stuff. And so he's got a good personality. I think he'll fit in well with what the Vikings are trying to do to that locker room. Sounds like him and Danielle Hunter have already made contact, which is it's always nice. I think those two are trying to work out together or whatever, which is you don't see all the time now. Like you used to, I feel like players work out together, but a lot of times it's like players from other teams where I saw what Kirk Cousins throwing Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne or whatever the other day. No Justin Jefferson. We don't have to make a big deal about that. Maybe we'll do it later in the offseason if he doesn't ever show up. No. So yeah, the Vikings signed Za'Darius Smith, and to make this move, they restructured Danielle Hunter's contract. They converted his $18 million roster bonus into a signing bonus. So I believe all that bonus now, that 18 million is fully guaranteed for Danielle Hunter now. It saved them over 13 million in cap space, and it basically eliminates the chance of Danielle Hunter getting traded or cut at least before June 1st. Because if they did either of those moves, they would have 30 million in dead cap, and I highly doubt that that's going to happen. So with Danielle Hunter, Chris, did the Vikings make the right decision by not trading him?
See, that's one of the players that I wanted them to keep. Like
Right.
there were several players that I was okay with getting rid of. But I think Hunter at age 27, yeah, he's got the neck injury, but he came back and had 6 sacks in 7 games last year. Like that's pretty good. Um, you look at his production throughout his career, he is ninth unofficially in sacks according to Pro Football Reference. He is sixth, I believe, since 1982 when sacks became an official stat.
Yep.
Like, why wouldn't you want this guy on your team at any cost? Like, I talked about it on this show, the Chris Dolman trade. The Vikings tried to get ahead of some kind of breakdown for Chris Dolman, and it backfired in their face. Like, they could have used Chris Dolman in 1998. I'm just saying. Um, I think that Hunter was a guy that they had to find a way to keep, and if they didn't, they had to get draft capital for him. So now that that's smoothed out, and it sounds like they're talking on a long-term extension with Hunter, I'm totally cool with it. I think that he's one of the building blocks on defense you had to keep, and I think he'll be in for a massive season, especially with Za'Darius if they can work on getting him those one-on-ones that he exceeds so well.
Yeah, I think we talked about all the players that they should and should get rid of and shouldn't get rid of, and Daniel Hunter, I think for both of us was at the top of the list of guys to keep. So I agree with you there because he's young enough. I think he's still 27, where he's got at least probably like at least 3 or 4 good seasons left in him, if not more. And these two injuries that he's dealt with the last 2 years are kind of freak injuries. They're not nagging injuries, so they're easier probably for a team to get over. But now you look ahead, and I believe Kwesi Adofo-Mensah mentioned, or not mentioned, just agreed with, the possibility of the Vikings giving Danielle Hunter a long-term deal because he has, I believe his contract expires in 2024. Well, his contract doesn't expire, but he's a free agent in 2024 currently, and he has 2 void years on the end of his deal to help spread out those cap hits. Um, but, that'll be a discussion, I think, throughout the offseason of, when to give Danielle Hunter an extension. Do you give it to him now and maybe potentially save some money and clear up some more cap space? Or do you, wait a season to see if he gets injured again, and then give it to him next offseason when who knows, what the scenario could be next time you have to negotiate with him, because the last 2 years it's been like, is he coming back? Is he not? Does he want a new deal? Does he not? It's kind of been, you know, teeter-tottering or whatever, but, what do you think the Vikings should do? Should they wait until after this upcoming season to negotiate with Hunter about an extension, or should they begin those talks, like, in the near future?
You can ask about a deal right now. I mean, right now, what it would do for the future is kind of rectify the cap situation. Like you'd always go low, but I mean, actually, it wouldn't because it is 12 million. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I mean, Hunter's kind of deserved it. I talked about his track record. He's the kind of player that you should want to keep on your defense. And I think that if the Vikings want to lock up their cornerstones and they want to have this super competitive label that they talk about, Danielle Hunter's got to be on the team. Like I said, when he's healthy, he's a double digit sack guy. And he proved last year that there's not many lingering after effects with that neck. Now, could it resurface in a couple years? We don't know. But I mean, you don't do a 6-year deal right now. Maybe you go to him and say, hey, we know about your medical history. You're 27. What if we give you a 4-year deal worth, I don't know what the Nick Bosa contract is worth. It's a lot.
80,
So
80 million.
how much is it?
I don't know, but do 4 years, 80 million. That's 20 million a year.
20 million a year. Might need to be a
He
little
probably wants
bit
more though,
more.
right? Yeah, he probably wants like
Yeah.
25
Yeah. Like 25. We'll just say 25 for the hell of it. I don't
for
know what
4
the
years,
exact number is, but
$100 million.
yeah, go. Nice, easy math. I like that. Like, go to him with that. See if he'll do it, and then if not, it
Incentive
close.
laden.
Sure. I most NFL players don't agree to incentives though. Like they
Yeah, yeah,
know
yeah.
it's they could
The
get cut
smart
at
ones
any
don't.
time. But right, like Kirk Cousins' agent,
Mhm.
he knows
Who's now
exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, who's now working for Gary V. Just, switched agencies today. So, Kirk Cousins, and he'll be a motivational speaker, before we know it. It's gonna be great. Just, seems like the perfect candidate for that. Can't wait for those speeches. Yeah, I would talk to him this year just because the amount of money that you could potentially save, which is something I feel like the Vikings were good at during the Spielman era, was kind of getting ahead of these extensions before they got too pricey. Now, it did sometimes result in that player being like, "Hey, I need more money because I'm worth, more than what the extension you gave me." Stefan Diggs, who's causing a little stir out there with some cryptic tweets, and the Bills fans were like freaking out, and we're like, "We told you." But no, I don't think anything of it. I think Diggs is just having fun right now. But they were good at getting ahead of these extensions, and it allowed them to save money. You think about like Diggs and let's see, you could even think of like Xavier Rhodes, Harrison Smith, even Adam Thielen. Like Adam Thielen's deal was so good for a while until everyone was like, okay, we gotta pay him because he's making like 4 million a year. So we gotta give him some actual money. But I think it would be good to at least see if you can figure out a deal this summer before it'll probably happen, I would say, after June 1st, because that's when I think you can deal with next year's cap hits. So they'll probably wait until after that if they're going to do an extension. But I think it would be a good idea to at least try and get something done. And if not, then you figure it out next year. He's still under contract for next year. Um, and I think they've set it up where it's kind of not a good idea to trade him next year either. I think there's still I think it might be like 10 million dead cap or whatever if you trade him. But so I think it was a good idea to keep him. Plus, you get to team him up with Za'Darius Smith, and I think just having one of those guys wouldn't have made it very good. I think the Za'Darius Smith signing is that much better because he gets to work with Danielle Hunter. If it was coming in to replace him, I think we'd probably have much different feelings about it. But I think those two being together is pretty exciting, and now you can argue that the Vikings, when healthy, have one of the best pass rushing duos in the league. So that's pretty exciting. Return, are they going to meet at the quarterback like the old Purple People Eaters did now? Are they going to do that? So we will see. All right. So Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the Vikings general manager, answered questions on Thursday. He was asked about the team's approach this offseason, and this is what he said. He said, when people look at teams, they sometimes do it in a very binary way. They ask, are you either all in or tearing down and rebuilding? And I don't really look at the world that way. The way we look at it is we're trying to navigate both worlds. We're trying to live in today and tomorrow, or the competitive rebuild, however you want to phrase it or market it. And so I think it's kind of how we've approached this offseason. So essentially, the Vikings are trying to remain competitive while also rebuilding at the same exact time. Chris, is this even possible?
So I thought about this a lot because when I first heard the quote, I mean, it's basically what we were all thinking this offseason, right? That the Vikings aren't picking a direction. But
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be the optimist here.
Oh
And I'm
boy.
going to spit out a couple of scenarios because I think what they would shoot for is the Baltimore Ravens because
Mm.
under John Harbaugh, the Ravens have never like gone in the gutter. I think they've only had one under 500
Yeah,
season
not
with
on purpose.
Harbaugh. Yeah. So when you look at that, it's usually 10-6, 8-8, 9-7, those kind of seasons. Now it's 17 games, so you can do the math yourself on that. But they kind of just stayed afloat. They built a foundation. Ozzie Newsome was one of the best drafters of all time. And
Mhm.
he goes out and he has this foundation that he drops Lamar Jackson into, and they become one of the best teams in the AFC. I don't think it's necessarily mandatory to tear everything down and rip everything to the studs. Now, here's the thing. Do the Vikings have a foundation that can provide that?
Yeah.
Because when you are in the middle, usually it's like one piece away. So you drop in, I mean, if you want to, let's say Aaron Rodgers gets mad and he goes, I want to be a Viking. Like if you drop Aaron Rodgers into the Vikings, you have the cap room and everything, you're
Mhm.
good to go if you have the foundation ready. But with a team that's over 30, who's proven that their ceiling is like 9 or 10 wins, I'm not too sure about this approach, but it also might not be Kwesi's decision because he's been talking about collaboration, talking about getting calls from Mark and Ziggy Wilf. And I don't know, are they telling him to extend Kirk Cousins? Are they telling him to do everything? It's a really interesting situation. So, can it be done? Yeah, but I mean, I like my thing is pick a direction, just commit. And technically, he is by saying competitive rebuild, but you either want to compete or you want to rebuild. It could be both, but it's really hard to pull off. I kind of just talked in
Yeah.
circles, didn't I? But
Well, you sound like Kwesi kind of because
yeah.
I'm beginning to realize that we were very, you know, I don't know, spoiled, I guess you could say, especially when it came to Mike Zimmer, because he was very honest uh, most of the time, unless he was talking about injuries in his press conferences about his opinions on everything. And, I'm sure there's some honesty in there with Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, but they're also very good at answering questions without answering the questions. Um, and I think this is sort of that. I do too struggle to look at. they keep talking about how they have the pieces already. They had the pieces already in place to build a good team. And I keep going back to, but you've missed the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 seasons with these pieces that you believe are going to lead you to the playoffs. So that's where I just get a little confused. Where you know, I don't think Mike Zimmer gets enough credit for what he was able to do during his entire career with the Vikings. I think people it's clear. I think a lot of people have talked about this. It's clear that everyone's trying to put the blame that this was all Mike Zimmer's fault. It had nothing to do with the players on the field. You know, it was Mike Zimmer's fault and Rick Spielman's fault. And that's why they're gone. And we just got a new head coach, a new GM. Everything's fixed. Now we can, get back on track and go contend. And I don't think it's that easy. I think there are players that contributed to the Vikings not reaching their goals in the last 4 seasons. And this isn't specifically Kirk Cousins. This is a bunch of players on that team that failed to help this team, reach to where everyone thought they could get. So I think we should, not put the blame on Mike Zimmer's shoulders. I think he did a really good job when he was with the Vikings. He's what, the third best coach in Vikings history, and right now people are treating him like he's like Les Steckel or something. Not or Brad Childress. Like this guy made the Vikings relevant again. They were dead in the water in 2013, and with Leslie Frazier, and Mike Zimmer picked his team up and literally put him on his back and made them relevant again. And now we're just like, get him out of here. He ruined this team, and it's all his fault. And it's like, okay, he played a part, but like, you know, let's not gang up on Mike Zimmer. There's enough blame to go around to everybody. But my point is, I just I I really want to be optimistic. I really do, but I just don't understand how you can think that you're going to be competitive with the same core group of guys, pretty much, that you've had that have missed the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 seasons. So that's my thoughts on it. But you mentioned. Did you want to say something else?
Well, I was gonna say too. So I think a lot of people look at last season and see all the games that came down to the wire, and they're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
just if a couple of those go our way, we're a 10, 11 win team. I'm sure that's what the Wolves are seeing.
Or a 5-win
But
team.
yeah, you could also lose a lot of the games that you won. But like the losses this team had weren't exactly like Zimmer things. Like they got beat by Cooper Rush. They got beat by a winless Lions team because
Well, that
Cameron
was his
Dantzler
defense,
decided to
Chris. That
play
was his
five.
defense.
He decided to play 5 yards into the end zone. And yeah, did Zimmer contribute to that? Yeah. I mean, you study for Cooper Rush if you think there's a chance he's going to play. Like you just don't go, LOL, they're going to play Dak. Like with Detroit, he backed guys off and only sent 3. There were some decisions that Zimmer made that were questionable on and off the field. But I I just have a problem giving all these players a pass. And I mean, that's where I'm at. Like, when you talk about the Za'Darius Smith extension, or excuse me, the signing, like it's lukewarm for me because I know what's still here. I know that Harrison Smith still looks like he's gonna murder the entire secondary playing next to him. I know that Adam Thielen is still there and he's probably going to get hurt for a couple of games. And it doesn't absolutely close the door. I mean, Kevin O'Connell could get the most out of this offense, and they're doing what we wanted them to do last year. Like we were saying at the beginning, hey, lean into the offense, go get some guys and like go play offensive football. Now they're going to do that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but we've already seen this. So this is their chance. This is everyone's chance to prove, hey, like if we had just played the right brand of football, we can be a big time team. It's fair to be skeptical because of how the last couple of seasons ended. Because you do have a quarterback that goes into a shell when he gets pressured. You do have a receiver that's in his 30s that gets hurt, even if he is from Minnesota. You do have defensive leaders that kind of have that gruff Zimmer attitude that didn't really mesh with the guys that they were bringing in. There's a lot of issues here. And I'm curious to see if like all the coaching staff field trips and oh, hey, I'm Kevin O'Connell. Nice to meet you. Yeah. Like, forgive me for being skeptical, but I am. That's
Yeah,
why I'm kind of lukewarm on this team.
Yeah, I feel like I stirred the pot a little bit before coming on here, on Twitter because I tweeted,
You? No,
yeah, I don't do
no.
that. I always just
Uh,
sit back and tweet a lot of things so I can get as many likes as possible. That's what I do on Twitter. Um, but I said, "Why are we so sure that Kevin O'Connell is the next Sean McVay and not the next Adam Gase?" Because I keep hearing, everyone's just so optimistic that Kevin O'Connell, he's the solution. He's coming in. He's gonna they're gonna get 3 or 4 more wins because of Kevin O'Connell, because of this rookie head coach who's has no experience. He's been a play caller, I believe, once in his entire coaching career. He's gonna call plays. He's gonna manage this whole team. Like, like I am optimistic that it is completely fair to be skeptical, one, about this team that missed the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 years, and about them having a rookie head coach and a rookie GM. Like, it's not it's also people are like, "Why are you being so negative?" I'm like, "I'm not being negative. I'm trying to look at it from, every view." I'm preparing myself because I am a Vikings fan, and right now everyone is getting very optimistic, and we know what happens when that happens. We get so excited like it's the 2017 NFC Championship, and then we get kicked in the nuts. And this happens pretty much every year where we get our hopes up, like Kevin O'Connell's going to be the answer when he could just be, the next, I don't know, he could be the next Brad Childress. He could be the next Mike Tice. It looks like he's a great guy, great communicator. Looks like he has great plans, which is good for now. But we need to wait to get super excited about this until they get on the field, because there could be injuries, there could be all sorts of stuff, and we have to see how he deals with all this stuff before we're, gonna anoint the Vikings, the NFC North champions and contenders in the NFC, because there is no way that any of us know that. So that's why I tweeted what I tweeted, and that's why everyone's mad at me right now, because I was speaking the truth.
and you know what? If they make a couple of moves that move the needle, like getting a center, a guard, a couple
Yeah,
corners, so Chris Boyd doesn't have to see the field, like
yeah.
I'll get excited. I mean, shoot, yeah, I'll be happy. But I mean, yeah, it's just kind of I've seen this movie before, and I'm kind of skeptical. Like I've said it before, it's like putting a new coat of paint on Camp Crystal Lake. Like, yeah, people were murdered here, but I mean, you can't see it now. Just put a little stain on the cabin. It's all
Who
good.
do you think who do you think has more pressure as a rookie head coach this year? Because this other team is loading up too. Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins or Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings?
Hmm.
Because those Dolphins are loading up.
But
They're
here's
ready
the
to
thing
go.
about the Dolphins: they have a quarterback on a cheap contract.
Yeah, but he's not that
So with
good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If this doesn't work out, Mike McDaniel can say,
You can
"Hey,
draft
my
somebody, yeah.
guy wasn't here. We can
Yep,
go draft Bryce Young." Like
yep,
if that fits,
yep,
because they still have a boatload of picks, don't they? So they could go
uh,
get somebody
yeah,
next year.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think they still have two first rounders even after
yep,
dealing one to the Chiefs for Tyreek. Like they have an absurd amount of draft capital. So
yeah.
like with O'Connell, it's like you've been pouting this Kirk Cousins thing for so long, and you
You better be
extended
right.
him with an
You better be
ironclad
right.
contract. Yeah, you better be right, because I mean, you can't. Maybe after this year, you go, okay, this didn't work with Kirk. Like, let's trade up for Bryce Young, but you don't have draft capital, you don't have assets, you don't have a lot of the things. So in our eyes, of course, Kevin O'Connell's going to have more pressure because they've been saying, well, it was Mike Zimmer's fault. It's not our fault. Like the Dolphins, they kind of have the same thing going too with Brian Flores, don't they? But
Well, he's not there.
I don't know.
Well, he's not. No, not Brian Flores. Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel's there, but I mean, they fired Brian
Oh,
Flores,
oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they're kind of doing the, oh, this is all Flores' fault. He
Oh,
wasn't
with like Zimmer. Yeah.
cooperative
Yep.
and
Yep. Yep.
blah
Yep.
blah
Yep. Yep.
blah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 That's well. That's what you
I
do. You kick the guy who's not. You kick him on the way out. He's not there anymore, so you can say whatever you want and blame it on him, which is what is
so
happening
let me
right now.
ask you this question. Let's attack this from a different angle. We've seen all those trades this week, right? We saw Devontae Adams get traded to the Raiders, which was
Yeah,
actually last week. And then we
yeah.
saw Tyreek Hill get traded to the Dolphins. In each scenario, it was a highly paid quarterback trying to keep a highly paid receiver. So let's fast forward to next year with Justin Jefferson. He's gonna get a $40 million a year contract at
It's heading
least.
that way.
Yeah, he is going to be the price of an actual jet, which I wrote at zonecoverage.com. Sorry to plug my work at another site.
That's
But
okay.
like think about this here. So if this doesn't work and like May 2023 rolls around and the Vikings are like, Justin, we love you. We're doing gritties at hockey games. We're doing gritties at weddings, gritties in the street, gritties everywhere. Here is this massive contract. We don't have cap room. We got Kirk Cousins locked in. Kevin O'Connell swears this time, it's going to work. Will you please sign this deal? You'll be the highest paid receiver ever. Is Justin Jefferson going to say no? Is he going to force their hand to get a trade or what? Because I think when you talk about things on the line, I think that's something because receivers, we're seeing it right now, are turning into NBA players where if they don't like their situation, they're going to force their way out.
I think it would happen more if he was older. I think right now, when you're a younger receiver, you're trying to get that second contract. Like, you don't probably care as much where you play as long as you get paid. But I think when you look at someone like Devontae Adams or even a Tyreek Hill, like, you wanna go well, not that he's going somewhere where he has a better chance of winning than the Chiefs, but, like, you wanna go to a place where you feel like your team has a chance, where when you're younger, yeah, you wanna win, but when you are Jefferson's age, which he's what, 22, 23. Like, right now, he wants to get paid. And that's what he should be doing because this is the NFL and you only have a certain period of time to earn that money. And he's got a great chance of getting a lot of money. So I don't think he really cares where it comes from right now. I think things would have to get really bad between Jefferson and the Vikings for them to deal him. So I think that would be I think they would trade Kirk Cousins before they would trade Justin Jefferson just because they know because one, Jefferson's way younger. He can you could bring in, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jefferson could still have, an amazing season. So um I think it's gonna be very difficult for Justin Jefferson to want to get out. You never know because we probably thought this way about Diggs, but then, there are frustrations and he wanted out too. But this is an offensive coach. This is, they've already made a clear emphasis that Justin Jefferson is going to be the guy getting the ball a lot, kind of like Cooper Cup. So I am not too worried about that. If Jefferson was older, like 27 or 28, then maybe, yeah, I would be. But right now, no, because he wants to get paid. And he's gonna get a lot of money, and then right after him, Jamar Chase is gonna be like, "Cool, I'm gonna break your record again and get 45 million." Because those 2 are just ridiculous. They're gonna be teammates one day, right? That's gotta happen.
The super
Uh,
team factor, right?
yeah.
God, that would be fun. Like you could honestly have you could have Sean Mannion be quarterback and just be like, all right, we're gonna give you Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, go for it. Yeah, it would still be fun to watch.
I don't know, I don't know if I go that far. I need someone who has more than 1 career touchdown pass, throwing
How long
Justin
until
Jefferson the
Sean
ball.
Mannion is the Vikings offensive coordinator? We're
Yeah,
trending
well
that way, aren't
well,
we? Like this is like
why
a
isn't he a coach now? Just why can't they hire him as a coach? Why does he need to take up a roster spot? Like,
this is like the Josh McCown type hierarchy,
yeah,
right?
like
Like how awkward do you think it is when like Lovie Smith meets Josh McCown in Houston this year? Like, hey, how's it going, man?
yeah, they
Good.
wanted me to be the head coach, but they couldn't
Yeah.
hire me because
Uh so yeah, I'm totally getting the job in 2023.
yeah.
Just to tell it.
Yeah, just I'm just so confused, like, they keep saying he's a, great guy in the quarterback room and, he's a coach on the sideline, then make him a coach! Like, we saw last year what happens if Kirk Cousins can't play, and don't tell me, like, "Oh, Kirk Cousins has been, like, the healthiest guy." I sound like Mike Tyson right there, and the healthiest guy in the league or whatever, Russell Wilson has been healthy as well, and he missed a bunch of time last year with an injury, and that cost the Seahawks their season. They still won 7 games, but they could have probably been in the playoffs if Wilson had played the whole year. And this is football. Like we've seen Teddy almost lose his leg. We've seen Alex Smith in like a second. Like your career is just flashed before your eyes. That can happen to Kirk. He takes punishment. Like we cannot just sit here and be like, well, Kirk's always healthy, so we're just gonna depend on that. No, you need someone who can come in and like, why is it so difficult to get? They don't even have to bring in someone who's gonna challenge Kirk Cousins for the job. Just get like
The
they could have got like a Colt McCoy or like even a Ryan Fitzpatrick or somebody that can throw the ball. Sean Mannion cannot even he can throw to Garrett Bradbury. That's it. Like,
Like, here's the thing, like, the Vikings
yeah.
are screwed if Kirk goes down anyway, which that's throwing a bone to the Kirk stands, but I mean, whether
But
it's
we thought
Sean Mannion or Kellen Mond,
but we thought
they're
that in
done.
2017 when Bradford went down. We thought that.
Sure.
But they had a decent
But
backup
Case
in Case
Keenum
Keenum.
actually threw touchdowns in an
I
NFL
know,
game.
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
Like,
Case
they need
Keenum's
someone like
not
that.
Sean Mannion. Like, there
No,
wasn't
no.
like this blind resume, like, well, he's super smart and he can do all that stuff. Like, no, but I mean, like, is Kellen Mond dead? Can we put that to bed now?
I
Because
don't
I
think
mean,
that
this
I
is a
don't think
pretty
Mannion coming
damning
back.
sign.
Yeah, I don't think Mannion coming back says anything about Kellen Mond. I wanna say that. I don't think it says anything about him. I think they just brought Mannion in, camp arm or whatever. Cousins likes him. He's been the backup. He knows the offense. That's why they brought him in. I don't think it says anything about Kellen Mond. He's got the Mond has the whole offseason to figure things out. He could be bad. He could be not. So I'm not
Now, if
gonna
they draft a quarterback, it's a different story.
for sure,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
but don't draft one in the first round now. You've gone too far.
Now, if they
Like,
brought in a better backup than Sean Mannion, then I would be like, okay, they they definitely don't like Kellen Mond because they've already
right.
decided this person is going to be their backup. But like even Trevor Simeon, like I'd rather have him than Sean Mannion. What? Why? 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 I wrote this the other day. Like it's getting to the point where it is more impressive that Sean Mannion is still in the NFL collecting a paycheck. Like it's starting to be more impressive than the amount of money that Kirk Cousins has made just based on the fact that Sean Mannion has been able to last in the NFL for as long as he has and sucking. Like what is he doing? Does he have like dirt on everybody and I don't know. I don't know how he
Just
does
the
it, but
Vikings organization because he got cut by the Seahawks last year.
yeah, but he
So
was with the
maybe
Rams
he
too.
didn't
He
dig
got
up enough like shirtless pictures of Pete Carroll or something.
he was with
You
the
know,
Rams too with for a couple of years helping Jared Goff out. So I don't know, man. But my last question to get us out of here though is, competitive rebuild. So that seems like you're pulling yourself in a bunch of different directions to try and remain relevant, I guess. But with the people that they have right now, I'm gonna say before they even signed Za'Darius Smith, would the Vikings have been better off either are they better off going all in or doing a complete rebuild?
either pick a side. I think Arif Hassan tweeted that.
Just
Like,
do
it's such a
something.
cop out answer, but it's like just go one way or the other. Either like go crazy, screw the cap, sign everybody, and just go dream team next year, or tear it all down, rebuild, and get some guys in here. Like it just the basis of this team that we've seen for the last 2 years, it feels like a rerun. If they go on the field
Yeah.
and they start 6-0 and they go to the NFC Championship game, you can roast me all I want. I will not care if they wind up with a Super Bowl next year because it'll be unexpected. It'll be like 2017. Like I just get sick of the whole anything can happen rhetoric that they spit out. And like I said too, it's like, I talked about Mike Zimmer like playing a slot machine. Like every
Yep.
week, it's like, well, the Vikings could win this game. And if Kirk gets protection and all the schemes are right and the defense doesn't give up 30 points and like, every single thing. And like most of the time on a slot machine, you don't hit a jackpot, right? So like Zimmer's been hauled out. Sean or almost called him Sean McVay again. Uh, Kevin O'Connell comes up. Wow, this slot machine's empty. Puts the cigarette in his mouth and just starts pulling on the lever again.
Mhm.
Like that's what this is. That's what this is.
Yeah.
So
Just pick just
I'm
pick
sorry.
pick just pick something. Just pick one. But, typical. I feel like the Vikings have been doing this for, like, forever, though. Like, when have they ever
Yeah.
really just tore everything down and, like, multiple owners or whatever? They've I think they've only had, like, seasons with less than 5 or 6 wins, like, less than a handful of times in their entire existence. You know, they've either been really good or okay, mostly okay. And which is why every offseason we go and we're like, this could be the year they need a couple wins. They can get over the hump, but it doesn't happen. But just pick something and shout out. We keep mentioning Mike Zimmer. Shout out to that guy because I heard about I wrote about it today actually about uh, Darren Wolfson saying that Zimmer's a little down the dumps recently after getting fired. He's not feeling too hot, which is why he's not coaching anywhere right now. He's just not feeling too great about getting fired. It seems like he probably didn't feel like he deserved to be fired. So some could argue that he didn't, but shout out to him. Hope he's feeling better, hanging out with his family and stuff. I think he'll be able to be okay. So hopefully he is. But thank you for joining today, everybody, on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. Be greatly appreciated. Make sure you follow the Viking Age on Twitter and Facebook. But until next time, Chris and I will talk to you later.